Hello there everyone, I'm uxwbill, welcoming you to another video featuring some rather unwise computer-related science. This is of course quite a bit different from the field of study known as computer science because, well, that actually involves studying and intelligence and passing tests and all that happy stuff. Where here, we're just kind of messing around and seeing if anything interesting happens to shake out. For those of you who watched the video immediately prior to this one, you know already what we're dealing with here. We have two mechanically stricken, very unhappy hard drives in this old Dell computer. This is actually a Dimension 2350 for those of you who are looking for the answer to the other video. Of course, I'm not accepting any more comments for credit on that particular matter now that I've given away the answer, although it was just for fun anyway. So if you figured it out, so much the better, and I'm pretty confident that someone will by the time I've managed to get this second related video uploaded. We'll see! I have a great deal of confidence in the awesome people who watch my videos. So we'll see if they come through, but I think they will. So, what do we do with these? How'd this happen? Well, this happened as a result of the basement flood that took place in February of 2018 and the other basement flood that took place in January of 2019. You see, when both of those floods took place, I came down here right away with a set of waders on, and I grabbed everything off the floor, and there wasn't much that I happened to care about. I got it picked up, poured an absolutely disheartening amount of water out of a lot of stuff, but everything that I picked up just so happened to survive. Stuff like the studio computers, the hard drives in them are still fine, although there are limits as to how much I would trust them because the breather holes on them look absolutely terrible, and I'm sure that there was some water incursion that took place. However, all of those hard drives are still working beautifully, probably by virtue of the fact that the first thing I did with them was to take an image backup of their contents. And I'll tell you what, during that whole process, I was sweating bullets. I had other backups of those drives, but they weren't as current as the ones I wanted to take. I actually did buy new hard drives with the intention of replacing all those in those computers, but like I say, they're still working just fine. And I figure as long as I keep current backups, which I try to do, they'll probably continue to be just fine. But as for this computer, I just didn't happen to care about it. It was out of sight, out of mind, underneath the pool table, long ago forgotten, not really needed for anything, but I came up with a project that I have in mind to do with it, and I want to see if I can get it up and running today. The good news is the computer itself is alive, needs a new clock battery, but I was just curious what we might be able to get these hard drives to do, if we could get them to do anything. Now, it has to be said that if you go and do something like this with your own hard drives, first of all, on your own head be it, whether the results are good or bad, because this is an absolutely terrible series of things that we're going to do to these hard drives, and I will not be surprised if they don't survive. But I don't care, because there's nothing important on them whatsoever. I don't even remember what the last thing I used this computer was for. It's hard to tell. But I've gone ahead and removed the screw back here that holds this second drive cage in. This second drive's unplugged. I don't know what I was doing with it. And I haven't looked to see what the make and model of these drives are. I think that they're both Hitachi drives, but in looking a little more closely at the printed circuit board on this one, I think this one's probably from Western Digital. We're going to pull it out of there and find out, and then we're going to see if we can get it to do anything useful. This is a tight fit in here, ladies and gentlemen, but we can probably get it out without shredding anything too badly. Oh, maybe. Again, this computer came from a recycling pile. If I kill something inside of it, I really don't care. It's a very low-end machine. One of the first things you can do to recalcitrant hard drives that are unable to spin, you can try shaking them, kinking them, is the word that I've heard used, very sharply around their axis of rotation. And sometimes that's enough to get them freed up and convince them to run. And you can try this with the power on, while the drive is trying to buzz and perform high current spin-up attempts before it finally gives up. But you have to be very, very careful because the end result could be a head crash. You can even smack the drive into something else, though I shouldn't do too much of that because, well, I don't want to put any dents in the computer underneath this one because it's actually got some degree of value to me. This is indeed a Western Digital drive. Let's go ahead and see if any abuse there has managed to free it up, or if it's still going to play possum with us. Yeah, it's not getting anywhere. In case you happen to be wondering out there in the viewing audience what something else is comprised of, it involves the highly technical process of dropping the drive onto the floor from about a foot up on several different angles. We'll see if it did any good. Nope. In taking a closer look at the backside of this other drive, I believe it too is a specimen from Western Digital. At least it's easier to take out than the first one. We'll see what we have here. Oh, it's the same model and everything. About a year newer, though, in terms of date of manufacture. So let's see if we can get it to do anything. I expect that this drive is almost certainly a goner as well, but hey, who cares? It's a way to kill a little bit of time, and it's probably better than 99% of what's on TV, if not everything that's on TV. Of course, while we're busy poking and prodding at these hard drives, trying to bring them back to life, there's the usual card of unhappy power-on self-test related messages from this computer. What the devil was that? That sounded like a massive cricket. You got the messages you'd expect. Keyboard error or no keyboard present. I also have press F1 to continue, F2 to run setup, F12 for the boot menu, but then there's one I've never seen before, F10 utility mode. I wonder what that does. I think I know what's making that noise. I think it's this cooling fan back here. Oh yeah, I think that's definitely the source of that awful noise. Let's just see if we can stop it. As I said previously, I don't care even slightly about this machine, so if I screw something up along the way, it doesn't matter to me. These JMC Daytech fans are incredible, not only in how long they'll run on truly terrifyingly dry bearings that would put a stop to other lesser fans, perhaps even those front panel fans in the BTX line of Dell computers, but also how much noise they'll make with a bad bearing. It's just amazing. And no amount of lubrication ever seems to quiet them. Alright, here we go, after several trips to the floor. Let's see if we broke it free. Not yet. So I guess we'll turn our attention over to the system console as soon as that comes up. If I haven't broken it so badly yet that it refuses to boot up any longer. And let's find out what utility mode might be. It's interesting. Perhaps it's synonymous with perform a network boot. Maybe for mass duplication processes at the factory or something. I don't know. I think I might have finally reached the point of some success by using the time-honored technique of involving a hammer, only in this case, the drive itself got to be the hammer against a brick wall down here in the basement. And it certainly sounded, after doing that several times, as though I'd managed to free up the head stack, or more likely ripped the read-write heads clean off of it and left them floating around somewhere in the drive, which will no doubt produce even more entertaining sounds when I go to spin it up here in a moment, but that's exactly what we're going to do, so let's see what happens. The spindle motor's still stuck, but I did hear the heads move, which it hadn't done previously. I don't think I'm going to be so dedicated as to take this drive apart. Well, if this hard drive wasn't a complete write-off to begin with, it certainly is now. And just to stave off every armchair quarterback on the internet from descending into my comments section on this video, I do want to make it known that I have the proper tools to take apart a hard drive without performing the hatchet job that you see here. But in the case of this drive, as you'll soon see with your own eyes, it mattered very little what I've done here, because internal contamination has already taken place. But now that I've managed to get it apart and spin the platters around a little bit, I think I might have gotten it loosened up enough that if the motor and its corresponding driver IC are still good, This thing might explode, it might make one hell of a racket, but it would almost certainly do something interesting, so yeah, let's plug it in and turn it on. I don't know what it would be, but every so often I'm seeing this crystallized form of crud fall out of the hard drive's internals. I don't know if that would have been some kind of lubrication from the spindle motor that was contaminated by the floodwaters, or what it might be. It's certainly not anything that belongs in there. I suppose it could be the air filter, but I've never seen one of those disintegrate in a flooded hard drive before. Here we go. Oh, come on, you can do it. If I don't short something out here. Alright, must try harder. Here we go, let's give it another try. Come on. Well, that sounds promising. Sounds kind of like a buzzsaw. And then the microcontroller gives up and your fun's over. Which coincidentally is why so few of these drives can be repurposed to make excellent platter shooters in their afterlife. Anyway, folks, thank you for watching. I certainly hope you enjoyed this very silly video, and as always, I'm interested in your hopefully relatively constructive commentary. And here's a quick little video postscript. This is actually the quote-unquote drive that I intend to use. An inexpensive, anonymous, plug-in, parallel ATA, solid-state drive, 2 gigabytes in size. Certainly should be more than big enough for what I have in mind to do with this machine.